Hey everyone, welcome to the Roto Grinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevie TPFL. It's October. It's the 21st of October. It's 2016, and it's Friday. Hopefully everyone played and had a good Thursday slate and won all the money for football. And if you played the Thursday through Monday slate, hopefully you didn't do what I did and take Ty Montgomery out of all of your lineups, because obviously he's a running back, not a wide receiver. And we learned that here on the Thursday night football game. Here to talk some NBA today. Notorious had something come up. He wasn't able to make the podcast, but he'll be doing podcasts with us throughout the year here. So the first podcast that he does with us, I'll make sure that we get a little strategy for cash games worked into that pod. But bringing on Siege to talk some tournament basketball. How you doing, my friend?
Pretty distraught, I got to be honest. Like, I appreciate you delaying the podcast as long as you did for me to try to get over it, but this is one of those ones I'm going to have to sleep off.
Yeah, for the people that don't know, you want to talk about everything that happened tonight?
Yeah, so I pivoted off all our first of all, I text Stevie and I was like, hey, let's get off Ty Montgomery and cash. Yep, no problem. And then I realized, wait, Davante Adams is going to be under 1%. So I build stacks on every site, Rodgers to Adams, Meredith. And then the problem comes in, I put Jordy Nelson in, and I ran the stack on all the sites, in everything, every queue, like a core team. Davante Adams at 0.7% goes off for 32 or 40 points, depending on what site you're playing on, and the other guys combined for like 4. Even though 3 Packers receivers had 10-plus receptions, Jordy Nelson gets 1 for 9 yards.
I'll be honest, I didn't watch a lot of the game. I was working on NASCAR stuff. But from what I've seen, like, somebody texted me and asked me if he was hurt. I just didn't see a lot of Jordy tonight.
He was, yep, and it was just like they called a delay of game like they're going to give you like a 1 second grace period. They called it, and it was like a play to Jordy. He had one-on-one to score a touchdown. It was just that kind of night.
I know Meredith had a couple big plays called back. I know he's killing. A lot of people didn't roll head-to-heads against me that had him. So I'm hoping my Sunday team makes up for it. I don't want to harp on it too much. It's just these Thursday night football games can be so frustrating sometimes. Sometimes they're such great fades, and then sometimes they're like tonight, and you're going to have pieces.
Yeah, the worst part is, like, I actually, like, normally I fade the game. This week I actually had pieces. It's just not the right combination.
It happens. Your birthday's Sunday, so I know Sunday you're just going to have all the right combinations. We talked football on the pod yesterday. We jumped off. There's 2 things that I want to talk about before we talk NBA. One thing being the LeSean McCoy. We did not talk about Mike Gillislee a lot. We were both kind of holding out hope that, McCoy would play. There's a good chance he sits now. I don't know if it's officially that he's been ruled out, but what's your thoughts here on Gillislee for this Sunday slate?
I was going to completely fade on Thursday and kind of reevaluate the situation after the report basically said he was out. Then the other report then came out and said he was that McCoy was a game time decision. And I realized that people just wouldn't roster him on Thursday. So I ran a script basically with my top 3 stacks, and I wasn't prepared to do this at all because I told you, as I mentioned last night, I was like, I'm staying off of this Thursday night slate in the script. So I had to quickly build something together on FanDuel because I wanted to get Gillislee at this lower ownership so I have a decision on Sunday where I can take lower than the field because I'm overweight on Thursday. So I ended up throwing like 100 teams in the $2 or the $3, and it's all like Matt Ryan and Blake Bortles stacks. So I don't like him very much. Like, I think it's going to be a 3-headed committee. But I understand that people are just like, he's going to get a lot. People think he's going to get more of the work than I do. I think that he'll get like 50% market share. And I think a lot of people out there think he's going to get 80% plus. So I'm just going to be below weight on him realistically in any scenario here.
The thing that I like about it, outside of the fact that he's from my hometown and he's a Florida Gator, The thing that I like about it is it gives us more options. We had some value running backs, and it could lower ownership on some guys. Just for instance, like Fantasy Aces, they show ownership on Thursdays, and we have an article that comes out here at RotoGrinders on Friday or Saturday that talks about the ownerships. Rodgers is 64% owned in cash games over on Fantasy Aces. That's just going to kind of give us an idea of just how popular this guy's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully they jack up the price.
Mike Davis, you talked about him yesterday when we were doing the pod.
I'm sorry, what did you say the ownership was on Jaquez Rodgers? I'm sorry. I heard a number and then it didn't register until after you said it. 60 what?
64%.
Wow.
Okay.
So, what's Gillislee?
I didn't play Gillislee, so I don't know. I don't know if anybody played him. I haven't checked through all the tournament, but I did play Mike Davis. He's 8%.
Yeah, so Gillislee's probably like 4.
Yeah, that's what I would guess. So we talked about Mike Davis, and it was more of you talking about Mike Davis on the pod. I said that I really wasn't interested too much. We got done with the pod. I couldn't sleep. I spent another hour looking into the situation, and I actually like Mike Davis now at min salary.
I'm on board.
Well, I know you are. It's just I just wanted to, publicly announce like I've changed my mind on this guy. Just looking at the Bucs defense, not very good. They give up rushing yards and touchdowns to running backs. So I think this is definitely a good spot for Mike Davis.
Yeah, I think the matchup against Tampa is tough, but the volume is going to be there. So just the upside's going to be there.
All right, well, let's talk some basketball. But before we do that, let's talk about our sponsor over at Rosters.com. If you guys haven't checked out Rosters, make sure you head on over there, check them out. Use promo code Grinders. A lot of football action over there on Rosters this weekend. I'm going to be making lineups because my Thursday lineup has Jordan Reed, and I just don't think he's going to end up playing now. So I'm going to be making a bunch of teams over on Rosters this weekend. So come over there, play with me. Use the promo code Grinders, and we'll grind it out there. And if you use that promo code Grinders, you get the incentives here at RotoGrinders. So make sure you guys check that out. Let's talk some basketball. I think the first thing that we need to talk about with basketball, just overall general strategy for basketball, is you have to pay attention to injury news, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's singly like the most important thing when it comes to basketball, in my opinion. Just injuries, and not just like injuries, but injuries create opportunity for other players, and opportunity creates minutes, which creates production in basketball. It's different than every other sport in, fantasy or just in sports in general.
Yeah. It's really tough. It's a different sport. It's unlike anything else. Like, there's no injury reports. There's no order to it. There's no consistent system. There's no anything. Beat reporters in NBA are your lifeblood. They will give you the information you need, and there's literally nowhere else to get it other than beat reporters. It's just an entirely different beast. It's a 6-month. I kind of view it like bull riding. It's just like NBA is the bull, and you just got to hang on as long as you can, as many days as you can, and hopefully at the end you have a good score, because it will beat you sometimes, but you just have to keep grinding it out.
Yeah, and if you don't have the RotoGrinders app, like, you're doing something wrong. Like, the apps and the alerts here are just so key. The team that we have gets the alerts so quick, and it's just, if you don't have the app, make sure you get the app.
Yeah, exactly.
So injuries create opportunity, obviously, and opportunity creates, fantasy production in minutes. Let's talk minutes in fantasy. And minutes are important, but if you're playing 35 minutes a game and not doing anything with it, then it's not that important. You have to know how the minutes and usage rate is going to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. It really just comes down to, like, there's a lot of situations in tournaments that you just have to, like, evaluate. It comes down to just situations of where is the basketball going to go. It's not as easy as, this guy replaces this guy and everything's going to stay the same. No, there's only 5 guys on the court. You replace one with another, and the entire situation could change dramatically. Let's say you plug in Kyle Anderson for Kawhi Leonard, let's say. One is a very good two-way player that drives the ball, shoots the ball, and plays good defense. The other is a guy that stands in the corner and shoots threes when open. So that's going to completely change how the Spurs offense is going to look. So you have to then evaluate, okay, well, if those shots are not going from Kawhi Leonard, where are they going? Are they going to LaMarcus Aldridge? Are they going to Pau Gasol? Are they going to Patty Mills? Like, these are the type of decisions that you have to make, and you might literally have 60 seconds to do it.
Yeah, the one thing that I will say, like, about injury, like, if you have a guy that's questionable, like, assess the situation ahead of time. Look at everything ahead of time so that if that player plays, you know where you want to go. If the guy doesn't play, you know where to go. If a guy just gets scratched randomly 5 minutes before lock, that's where it's going to be the make or break if you're going to have a good night or a bad night, how you adjust to that news.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's tough some nights. We're not going to say that it's easy. Like, everybody says that NBA is the most predictable and easiest fantasy sport to play. And while that is somewhat true as far as being able to predict NBA, which very, very predictable sport, I still think it's not as easy as everybody says, because you have to be able to adjust to news, and some people can do that and some people can't.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very easy to do like your vanilla basic, like this is what the chalk's going to be. But I think in terms of just where to be contrarian and stuff, there's a lot of room for the industry to grow as a whole. I don't think we optimize how to play tournaments yet based on late news very well at all.
Yeah, we'll get into tournament strategy here in a second. That's something me and you, that's what we do. I play tournaments. I don't play cash. That's why I was really wanting a 3-man booth to have Noto come on here and talk some cash game strategy. It didn't work out. It happens. So
he was late scratched.
He was late scratched. Perfect.
That's 0 in our lineup for the podcast tonight. Not good.
We're screwed. Basketball 0. You're done.
So have a good night, everybody. We'll be back on Monday.
Getting back to some general strategy, I just mentioned usage rate a little bit. Like, that's a stat to know in the NBA. It's one of the most important stats, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's nothing more important than usage rates in the NBA. Nothing.
Yeah, we have a Court IQ tool here at Roto Grinders that you can actually see types of usage that players are getting when they're on the court with certain people. Highly recommend checking that tool out. I don't know if it's available yet. I think that they were doing some stuff to it, and I definitely think it'll be ready for opening night.
And that's all that really matters.
Yeah, good plug, Stevie. Good job. Pulling it up now to see if it's actually available. Yeah, Court IQ is actually up, and it looks like it's working. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you head on over to rotogrinders.com/Court IQ. It's right there in the research tool section. If you just click on NBA, that tool is super useful. One of my favorite tools, in the industry.
Yeah, it's a great tool for sure. If you haven't checked it out, you should.
All right, so we talked usage rate. I'm just trying to think general strategy. Pace per play is something that I think a lot of people overlook when they look at basketball. We talk about it in football. We obviously never talk about it in baseball, but pace per play for basketball is huge.
Yeah. Sorry, I decided to finally take out my notes because I actually made notes for this podcast.
Oh, man. Hold on. Putting in the work, CJ. Putting in the work.
Notes, because I didn't want to forget important stuff. So
now, I'll let you run with pace of play here. So if you have a team like the Spurs, obviously always one of the worst teams, and this is actually an opening night game, one of the worst teams as far as pace, and Golden State, a team that plays up in pace. What are your takes on when you have a team that plays really slow against a team that plays really fast?
You have to kind of predict which one's going to win out, because the game really never kind of just plays in the middle. It either plays fast or it plays slow, and you got to kind of make a decision which way you think the game's going to go. That game's in San Antonio, right?
No, it's in Golden State. I actually think that's going to be a faster-paced game.
Yeah, it's going to play fast. So, probably downgrade to Pau Gasol, probably upgrade to the sixth man, who probably is going to be Jonathan Simmons or Patty Mills, I would guess.
And we say that because, like, so they're playing at home. Golden State's playing at home. They're going to continue to try to push the ball. Home team usually favored to play at their pace, in my opinion. And, like, thinking of San Antonio, like, Duncan's gone. This team's a little younger outside of Parker.
And how?
Yeah, it could play a little faster here.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. So I'm guessing you're on the same page as me. Like when it comes to pace, I like favoring the home team space.
Yeah, it's a general rule, but there's back-to-backs and 3 and 4 and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, back to back, something that you definitely want to pay attention to. 3 and 4 nights. Condensed schedules are awful. But yeah, that's obviously something you want to pay attention to. Anything else with pace?
No, not really. I think we kind of touched everything.
All right, 2 more things that I had written down here for general strategy wise. Using Vegas lines. And this is definitely something we'll talk about more when we talk about tournaments. Like, how important are Vegas lines for you for basketball?
Everything.
Like, we see nights where we'll have teams in the 190s and we'll have teams in the 220s. Like, and they're pretty sharp when it comes to Vegas odds for basketball. Vegas in general.
They are. Not going to give away too much of what's coming up, but let's just say Vegas odds are a huge part of my model.
It's definitely something to watch. If you see something, you'll notice lines trend sometimes. That's something to watch. Injury news could be something like that's making the lines move. So if you have a guy like, I don't even know. So we'll say, because I have opening night opened in front of me. So like Portland opens as a huge favorite against Utah.
Another team that's slow as can be.
So Portland opens as a huge favorite with a guy like Lillard that is a game time decision. And about, you'll start to see that line like suddenly start to drop. There's probably news that Lillard's not going to play. So using Vegas lines for that is something that I like to do too.
Yeah, absolutely. The Vegas lines and line moves can kind of tell you whether guys are going to be in or out too. Like when the line on the West Coast mysteriously goes from 10 to 3, something's going on.
Yeah, and
happens a lot with Golden State. Like whoever the mole is they've gotten the Golden State, it's really good. That's all I gotta say. Like last year, it was every time the line mysteriously went down like 5 points, someone sat.
All right. Well, there's a good nugget to take out of the podcast for sure. Last thing I had written down here is defense versus position. How much do you weigh this? I know a lot of people love this stat.
I love it.
It's a stat that I use, but I don't love.
I love it.
All right, well, talk to me about defensive versus.
It just comes down to if a team can't guard shooting guards and there's a good shooting guard going there, they're probably going to get more shots than normal. They're probably going to have a higher usage rate. So it's absolutely an important factor. If a team was locked, if you're facing Rudy Gobert or Hassan Whiteside, it's probably not the day to play your center. So it's definitely super important. I'm not saying it's not like I'm not going to start looking at between the difference between 10th and 15th in the league, but I'm absolutely going to use it to find outliers either way.
No, and I agree with that being said. I think there's times that you can exploit the numbers too.
Yeah, depends on the situation, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, situation is everything, right? Like, so you just mentioned Rudy Gobert. Gobert, one of the better centers as far as defense goes in the league, and then like all of a sudden he's out, and people are going to see that top 3 ranking against the center. Like those are the types of times you exploit those numbers.
Right, absolutely. I remember a couple of years ago, you were like one of the first guys in on the fact that Bulls couldn't defend interior guys, and you were in on that before anybody.
Qualified for a live final with that.
And it made me a lot of money. So
Andre Drummond, 80-point game when he was 0% owned in the Fantasy Aces qualifier.
Yes,
on my birthday 2 years ago.
Yes, I remember that game. Yep, you were spot on. That's when everybody finally came on board.
So, no, yeah, it's just trends, and like the Orlando Magic, I don't know how much Ibaka's going to change that, but really bad inside, really bad.
Yeah, there's certainly a team that you can fire away with any sort of big guy.
Yes. Oh, God, my Magic. I refuse to go to a game. Once they trade away Oladipo, was gone, done.
Well, when I come down to the area this winter, we'll have to go to a game.
I will make an exception. I'll
right.
make an exception. Might even like take you to Disney or something too.
Awesome.
We'll do it up. All right, so that it kind of goes for general stats. When it comes to building cash lineups, obviously me and Siege aren't cash game players. Taking your highest 4 players with high usage rates in good total games is probably where you're going to want to start your lineups with your value plays. Just be chalky in cash. There's no reason not to be chalky in cash games.
Yeah, I'm the most unqualified person to talk about cash games, so I feel like I should just sit here and just let you kind of talk, because I'm just not a cash game guy. Like, I don't play the chalk in cash. I just don't. I play my guys. Like, I mean, it's just I'm going to play my optimized lineup, and if it's chalky, it's chalky, and if it's not chalky, it's not chalky. Like, I'm not playing Serge Ibaka in a bad spot when I could play Julius Randle in a great spot just because everybody else is playing Ibaka. I'm just not going to go that way. So does that make me not the most optimal cash player? Yes, and that's what we're saying.
One thing that I do, and I'll dabble in cash games at the beginning of the season when I feel like there's an edge. One thing that I love to do over on DraftKings, where you have the utility, and now we have the multi-position eligibility, which we didn't touch on this a lot when we were talking about it, the new rule change. When we talk about multi-position eligibility, guys that could be centers could like have a power forward spot too. So you could play them in either spot. That's what we were talking about, multi-position eligibility. Some guys would be point guards and shooting guards. That's what we were saying. I got a text about it, so like I felt bad not mentioning it then.
I did too. I thought I had mentioned it, and I went back and listened, and I hadn't.
So, but the one thing that I like to do is I like playing centers in the utility spots in cash games. I feel like centers are one of the safest positions for fantasy basketball.
Yeah, for sure.
And now we might be able to get 3 centers in lineups at some points.
I don't know how you're going to pull that. Oh, yeah, power forward, center, and utility. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun. Technically 4 if you use them in the forward spot too. So going to be a good way to get that higher floor in cash games this year. So we'll definitely touch more on that. Like I said, Notorious is going to be joining me. I think it's every Tuesday for basketball. So we'll definitely talk cash strategy with him. But we're going to talk some tournament strategy. That's what me and you like to do. It's my favorite thing. So I'll let you have the floor here. What's your favorite thing when you're looking at tournaments?
The spot that people don't know yet. So I watch more basketball than 99.99% of the world. It's just what I do. Like, I have a setup where I will have 6 games going on and pretty much at all times. I have 4 on my laptop, 1 on each of my 2 TVs. And I watch a lot of games. And what that does is I can see rotation changes before like they become popular. I know I harp on this example, but it's the best example I can think of. Is I was watching Houston and Portland, and I noticed Mo Harkless was the first guy off the bench. After looking at the box score, I noticed his minutes were just like 32. So I have NBA League Pass. I popped on a replay of the game, and I noticed he was the first guy off the bench. And I was like, interesting, because Houston was playing small at this point. And I was like, okay, this is something I need to remember. The next game, they played some team like LA or some really big team, and they went back with Myers Leonard. But they played Houston again the next week. I took a note of it, and I played him across the board because I knew that his minutes were going to be higher than people knew. It was a day before people realized that he was the guy that was going to play that small ball 3, and, of course, just cleaned up with it. So, but I would never have known that if I wasn't looking at box scores and if I wasn't watching games till 2 a.m.
You can watch them the next day. You don't have to watch them until 2 a.m.
I just get distracted, though. There's Twitter, there's articles, there's Slack chat, there's everything. There's no one up at that hour, and I can just sit there and I can watch a game, and I feel like I'm just not distracted at all.
Fair enough. That's fair.
It's crazy. It's completely crazy.
No, I don't sleep. We know, everybody knows that by now. Like, Basketball season's the time that I sleep. I only write 3 times a week, so basketball is the time that I get to sleep some. So yeah, but I like what you're saying here. Noticing trends before everybody else jumps on that trend is something that is huge when it comes to tournaments. My first piece of advice when it comes to being a tournament player, and I forget who said this a year or two ago, but being contrarian without being stupid. And I think that everybody gets in their head that you have to be contrarian with these 1% owned guys, and you can be contrarian with guys that are 5 to 10%. And it drives me insane when I see people do stupid things trying to be contrarian.
It was kind of my rebuttal, and Team Chalk's attack at us on Night Sweats. It was like, oh, you used like the 7th most owned wide receiver. That's contrarian. That's the whole point of being contrarian. Is instead of playing the top 2 guy, you play the guy 6th or 7th on the list that has almost as good as projection as the second guy and is going to be way less owned. That's the whole point of Team Contrarian. It's not we're going to go play random guy over here that's like the 10th guy on the bench and hope he gets minutes. That's not contrarian.
You know how much money I won in tournaments or basketball last year because everybody wanted to play LeBron and Durant in certain spots, and Kawhi was on that slate too, and he had just as good as matchup. And it's, I'll take the third owned guy when the first 2 guys, are way more expensive.
Like the opening night, you have that situation. You've got KD, you've got LeBron, and you got Kawhi. Kawhi's in a pace-up game. It's going to be no secret where I'm going to be.
Oh, it's no secret for me either. No, there's no chance that if I'm playing opening night, there's no chance I'm not playing Kawhi.
Yeah. I might play LeBron and Kawhi, but I promise you that I'm making a stand on Kawhi.
And if the chalk hits 4 times out of 7 times a week, okay. But the 3 times that I get my 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th owned guy compared to these top 2 guys, and they just destroy the top 2 guys, I'm going to be okay.
Exactly.
So, that's where I feel like people just don't oh man, it didn't work 1 time or it didn't work 2 times, and they won't go back to that strategy. You have to trust the process. There might be weeks that you don't have a big night, and then you go on a run for like a week straight. It just happens.
It could be a month. It could be 6 weeks.
Yep.
Some of the best players go on 6-week cold streaks, and they just get hot for 3 to 4 weeks where they just see everything, and they can't be stopped. And that's it. You make a gazillion dollars over those 4 weeks, and you just try to be even the rest of the way until you get hot again. That's it. That's how NBA works.
All right, so we're talking tournaments. So scenario where, all right, one of the top plays on the board is going to be out, and so it happened a lot last year with DeMarcus Cousins. DeMarcus Cousins is going to be out, and one of the power forwards was it Cauley-Stein, right? That we used a lot last year without Cousins. So
and Costa Koufos.
Yeah. So all right. So Cousins is going to be out, and these guys are going to be super popular in tournaments. I'm all for trying to find somebody that's going to do the same thing they're going to do.
I'm all for playing the one that doesn't start in that scenario every time, because they ended up with the same minutes every time. The guy that started would be 4 times more than the guy who came off the bench playing the same number of minutes.
And
let's take the one. Let's play the other one.
Yeah, and Cauley-Stein had some big games. But
he dudded a bunch.
Yeah, he dudded a bunch. So just another thing when it comes to tournaments, just because spots are obvious doesn't mean that guy's just going to go out and play 40 minutes.
Exactly.
All right, so we're talking tournaments, CJ. What else are you looking at in tournaments besides trying to get ahead of the curve?
Value. Making sure my value has real upside. This is, I know, something you harp on as well. Just because a guy is starting at 3K does not mean he needs to be in your lineup. The guy actually has to do something on a basketball court. And stop me if these are guys that you actually would play on a regular basis when they're starting. Luke Babbitt, Alexei Ajinka, Kyle Anderson, Marcus Smart. You probably played Mario Hezonja, but you probably know that was a mistake.
I do not play the Super Mario.
Because he's a one-dimensional player who just stands in a corner and shoots. Those type of guys, Like, they're going to be chalk every time, and I'm just going to fade them every time.
Well, so let's talk one-dimensional players. Like DeMar DeRozan, one-dimensional player. Do you know how many times
I rostered him one time on DraftKings last year. Literally not one.
I was going to say, do you know how many times I faded him?
Like, in DraftKings where there's the 3-point bonus, you cannot play DeMar DeRozan. Ever.
There's only one-dimensional guy that I played last year, and I swear I'm the Whisperer. I don't care what anybody says. I am the KCP Whisperer.
I believe you, because every time you told me to play him and I didn't, he would just go off, and I'm sitting there just like...
It was dirty, dude. It was like...
You and the Pistons, really. I'll give you credit for the whole team.
It was so dirty.
You had the Pistons pretty well figured out last year.
Yeah, I feel bad. Like, I wish like that could just happen with every team. Like, you have every team in the NBA figured out. But last year, for some reason, and there's no madness behind it. I figured out the Pistons last year.
I had the Rockets and I had the Pelicans figured out. I could get those teams right every time. Yeah, and there's just teams that there was just no chance I was ever going to get right. The Pistons being one of them. Prime subject number A. There's a team I never got right. Along with the Magic, too, was just outside of Oladipo. That was a team I never got right.
Yeah, figure it out this year. Good luck.
It's going to be a consistent fade is what it's going to be.
Fournier. I think that's the only guy we can play from the Magic. And, yeah, you're rolling your eyes right now. So, like, that's just how bad the Magic are.
I mean, yeah, there's a couple guys that I am just thrilled to roster this season at the start. There's a couple guys that just, like, oh my God!
See, nobody can see me. Nobody can see me, CJ. I'm guessing a guy that wears the same jersey as me, that's really tall, is a guy you're going to want to play this year.
I don't know what jersey number you got on.
Not the same jersey, just the same color.
Oh, yes, I love that guy, but that's actually not the guy I was talking about.
Well, the other guy, I don't want to give it away too much, but the other guy might be in the same state as me.
Yes, he is.
All right. Well, we're obviously going to talk basketball.
We'll talk about the plays when we get to the podcast. I don't want to spoil it. But
yeah, we gotta have some hangers out there.
We'll tell you who the play is on or I guess Notorious when Stevie will tell you on the Monday night podcast for Tuesday. Don't you worry.
Yeah,
I guess it's on the Wednesday slate, so it'll be me.
Yeah, it'll be
you. On the Wednesday slate, right? It'll be me. Yeah, I promise you guys will know the play. I promise. But yeah, this is a guy who's made me every single dollar on preseason this year. It's just like you plug it in, and then you just watch. He puts up 50 points. He's 20% out. You laugh at 80% of the field, and you take your money to the bank. You wait another day or two. They play again, and you do the same thing over and over again. James Harden this year, too, by the way, going to be insane. Just like
his usage rate is.
If you were fading the Rockets the first month of the season, you're doing it wrong.
Like just doing it wrong. So let's talk about Harden and Westbrook. Like, their usage rates are going to be just outrageous.
I worry about the Westbrook minutes. I worry if they're getting blown out in these games, are they really going to roll them out there?
Billy Donovan team getting blown out, though. I don't know. Even with just
that team is bad. I think it's the Victor Oladipo show. Like, I am going to be rostering Victor Oladipo way more than I'll roster Westbrook this year.
That's a strong stance from you. I know you're a Westbrook lover.
No, I'm a Westbrook hater.
Oh, you're one of the haters? I knew you were on one side.
No, I'm a hater. Well, I was just a hater when everyone was just like, oh, he's 70% in tournaments. You have to play. I'm like, no, you can fade him if you want. Like, anyone who's 70% owned is immediately fadeable. Just like between Westbrook and Davis are the two guys that I just like never, ever like. Well, last year I never rostered Anthony Davis. This year I might hop back on the train the other way.
Oh, Anthony Davis. You want to talk about one of the most frustrating players in the
Ryan Anderson, baby. I'm going to miss you in New Orleans. You made me so much money. I rostered Ryan Anderson in every NBA Live final last year. And Davis was projected to play in all of them. And it worked every time. Just so happened the one time was one of their 10 games that started an hour early. Or I win the Playboy final because I have 100% Ryan Anderson.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And Terrence Jones, by the way, is going to fill that role pretty well this year, too. Like, the guy that you want on the Pelicans, if you're fading Anthony Davis to get hurt, Terrence Jones will take up that role. Won't be as good as Ryan Anderson, but he fills the same kind of void.
Yeah, we're going to definitely see some trends. There were so many moves in the offseason. Like, yeah, that's probably the first thing.
Sorry, I know I sidetracked you, and I want to get back on point. Like, D'Antoni in Houston, that team is going to score 120 and give up like 125 every night. Like the first month until Houston's prices adjust correctly, they're going to be the Coors Field of NBA.
Yep, stack them up.
Just Harden, Rhino, throw in a little bit of Ariza, a little bit of Eric Gordon. Away you go. Stack a few guys on the other side. Hope the game just goes completely bonkers.
Stack them up.
I love that team. That Rockets team and I are going to – if the Rockets are bad this year, I'm going to have a rough year.
Oh, as long as you're taking your stand and you're planting your foot. So, again, I was just going to say, like, one of the first things we should have said when we were talking general strategy was if you're doing NBA for the first time this year, like, this doesn't really apply to you as much. But if you're back from last year, years past, whatever, however you want to say it, but you have to catch up on all the moves. There were so many moves this offseason. I've spent the last 2 days trying to catch up, and I'm not even halfway through the teams yet.
That's the best part about playing preseason. I feel like I know where most of the players are. Although the other night there was watching a game, and I saw the guy check in, and I was like, oh, he's on this team? Had no idea.
Oh, who was it the other night? Jason Terry. I'm like, he's still in the NBA? He plays for this game?
Yep, that's who it was. That's exactly the guy I saw check in, and I was like, I had no idea he was in the league anymore.
Yeah, so like I'm halfway through the teams, and I still have a ton of work to do before Tuesday and Wednesday comes around.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You know how my weekend's going to go. All right, so building tournament lineups, you can definitely use Vegas. We talked about it a little bit when we were going. So say we have 3 games with really high projections, massive totals. One of those games is going to go under-owned every time. Picking the under-owned high-scoring game that has potential. If you get the overtime game and the other 2 teams don't, or the other 2 games don't go overtime, you can make so much money on just one night.
2% of games go to overtime, and so stacks never are high. I mean, the stacks of the top games are the ones I attack because if they go to overtime, then you're in good shape, and you have a 2% chance of getting yourself into the top, which is a higher percentage chance than you have at this top. But I don't just stack every game. I know there's some guys that do. I really just keep it down to like the first game or 2. I'll make sure I have a couple game stacks in there. Yeah, kind of how I do it in NFL, to be honest.
I don't stack a lot of games either. But like what I'm saying though is like, so if we have 3 teams all over 220 and there's going to be one of those teams under-owned, I'm going to attack that team.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree with that.
Whatever you want to say.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how you would handle it.
So, and I might even mix in some of the other guys from those other high-scoring games and then try to find spots where I'm going to be different with the rest of my team. But there's so many ways you can build tournament lineups, build a routine, build a strategy. Look back at teams, or like if it's your first time ever playing NBA, you're going to be you've heard all this stuff. You're going to be so excited to play. Don't go crazy at the beginning. Pull up tournaments every night for the first week or 2 and just break down why are these teams scoring all these points? Why is this guy winning tournaments? Like reverse engineer these teams. It's something that I did an article on last year and people loved it. It's you reverse engineering teams is such a good way to learn strategy.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm trying to find that article now. Anyway, I just picked some random team and reverse engineered it. And it's just, if it's your first time playing NBA, even if it's not your first time playing NBA, reverse engineering top scoring teams and winning tournament teams is so key. It's something I did for years. I say years, man. I feel so old in the fantasy industry, playing since 2009. It's just crazy.
7 years, your 10-year anniversary, not far away.
I know it's coming up. I just had my 10-year high school anniversary this past weekend. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my God.
Oh.
That's nuts.
Any other things that you want to talk about here for tournament strategy? I know you took notes.
I do have notes. Let me see if I went through everything. We didn't talk about the scramble, did we? We should talk about that.
The scramble. Go for it.
So you think you're going to know what the hell's going on? 6 o'clock Eastern's going to roll around. And then the first report's going to come out. Some guy's randomly sitting. I don't know. Some guy, let's just say it's LeBron James is resting. Okay? You start working on that. 5 minutes later, hey, Kawhi's out. Okay? Then you feel like you're good. 6:45 rolling around, 6:50. 8 o'clock game. Now locks at 7, no late swap. 6:54 rolls around. The Midwest coaches are having their Midwest coaches meeting. Giannis is taking the night off. This happens. You have to be prepared in some manner of, okay, if you have a guy who's super highly owned and across your teams, and you need to have a plan B for them if they get scratched. So you don't try to do it in the rush of the adrenaline kick and try to figure out what the optimal play is. You've thought about it. You've gotten written down. You can pivot quickly and then, look back at Twitter for the next piece of news that might change it all over again. You think I'm trying to make this sound as mayhem and craziness as possible as I am. If you think there's any sorts of like decency to this, then you're nuts. It's kind of like if you've seen the rushing of the brides where they have like the dresses on sale, they just run over each other. That's kind of how I feel like NBA late swap is when you get late breaking news.
So I just pulled up. So we had a pregame slate, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 DFS alerts in an hour on a preseason slate.
3-game slate.
Just to kind of, back up what you're saying here.
It's insane. You gotta be by your computer, and you've got to be able to think quickly on your feet.
If you're trying to play NBA DFS outside of just pure entertainment, $3 to $5 a night, if you're trying to play anything and remotely try to be good at DFS basketball, you have got to carve out an hour before lock every night. Every night. I don't care. You have to do it.
Yep, absolutely.
So if you're not doing it, then play hockey or something. I hate to be that blunt, but you're gonna have to pay attention to news.
Yep, absolutely.
Just goes back to my point. The Roto Grinders alert app, man, it's pure gold. I hate it, but it's pure gold. Don't tell everybody I hate it. Just
you have to have it.
Yeah, I agree. Any final thoughts here on basketball? We'll definitely do. Opening night is Tuesday night for NBA. There's a 3-game slate. Notorious is supposed to join me for that 3-game slate, so we'll definitely talk cash game strategy before or after we break down those 3 games. So if you guys are looking for cash game strategy, you will get it. But I hope you guys could take some nuggets out of the tournament strategy here. We'll definitely be talking tournament plays, and we'll try to find floor value plays. As we're going here.
Good luck with that. Let me know how that goes.
No, I'm saying me and you will try to find guys with floor that are value plays throughout the pod for the rosters promo every day.
Oh. Yeah, that's still good luck, but we'll do it anyways.
Yeah. Night before NBA, game by game breakdown is going to be fun.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to it.
We're going to be so perfect every time.
So looking forward to it. Any final thoughts, CJ?
No. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this. Hopefully it was helpful. Any NFL you want to sneak here in the back? Anything that's changed over the last 24 hours you wanted to sneak in? I know we did a bunch at the top, but this is still a little short. We could sneak a little more in if you have anything you wanted to talk about.
The only thing, with this running back value, I moved off I said on the pod yesterday that I was looking at playing Cousins and cash on FanDuel. I moved off of him and got Ryan in with no issues. Yeah,
why didn't we like Jack Doyle again, by the way?
Oh, let me pull up my NFL research. I'm guessing you found a reason to like him?
It's more there's nobody left on the Colts, and they're going to throw the ball, and he's the minimum. What's his floor? 8 for 2,500. It's not exactly scaring me off.
I don't know.
Because I remember when you talked about him, we dismissed it. I just didn't remember why we did it.
Maybe
either it was a massive oversight on our part. Oh, it was just a lack of targets, but I didn't realize that Dorsett was going to be out for this game too. No Moncrief, no Dorsett. It's T.Y. Hilton, Chester Rogers, and Doyle.
My issue, okay, so here's my issue with playing T.Y. Hilton and Allen here, or not Allen, Doyle. My issue is Casey and Morgan on the D line for Tennessee, where they're strong, and Orakpo. Orakpo has a tough matchup as far as guard versus guard, but Casey and Morgan, where they're strong on that left end, Indy's really weak on the right end. So I think they're going to really pressure Luck. So that actually might play to Doyle more than it plays to Hilton. So I think we might have just overlooked Doyle.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Ball quick,
He was the guy that ended up 92% on my $2 or $3 script.
Wow.
Just because, again, this was really quick. Like, I was trying to take advantage of an edge, and I was trying to do it really quickly, and I didn't want to just rule out all the tight ends that I had to rule out because they're all questionable. So I just made Doyle's projection insane just to make sure it just kept plugging him in there. But I think Caleb B made a really good case on our show today, and I just what's the real floor here, and what's the upside? I mean, he could do 8 catches for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Even if you get one touchdown, even one touchdown is his upside, right? That's all you need if he's going to get 6 to 8 catches.
Yeah, if he gets 20 points at the minimum, and tight end even isn't that strong either. That's the other thing. Tight end is kind of just with Reed out and Jimmy Graham questionable. I'm sorry, Reed's not out. Reed's questionable. Graham questionable. The only guys that even kind of liked, this position just turned into kind of just a dumpster fire really quickly.
Is paying up for Gronk an interesting spot at the tight end this week just because how weak it is?
Yes, but I just don't like the Patriots passing game this week. But I think
we're on the same page when it comes to the Patriots passing game.
I'm gonna have to have some exposure. If it becomes that's what everyone's doing, there's no chance I want to do that. If everybody's paying down for Hunter Henry and Doyle, yeah, I'll definitely want some shares.
All right. Well, I'm going to pull up Fantasy Aces again and look at some tight end ownership real quick. But just to harp on the Titans tight end defense, they haven't played anybody outside of Eric Ebron and Kyle Rudolph week 1, which that was Minnesota week 1 was just a joke. Who played quarterback? Was it Sean Hill?
Yeah, Sean Hill.
Yeah.
So Rob Gronkowski in the $25 on Fantasy Draft is 33%.
Yeah, but Fantasy Draft had 3 guys min salary that you could easily fit in with a flex.
But that's going to be the same situation everywhere.
All right, let's see. Jack Doyle's 22%. Hunter Henry's 19%.
Doyle's 14% over here, by the way, just in case you're curious.
If Doyle is going to get a lot of traction, Julius Thomas is 4%.
What's his ceiling? Doyle's going to win the ceiling conversation. If Dorsett and
all right, here's one that I feel like I can really argue with you. Cameron Brate's 5%.
Oh, yeah, I do like that. I'm not gonna get in. I'm definitely not gonna fight you on that one.
Delaney Walker is 11%. That's a good tournament play. 2% that played Antonio Gates. Thank you for your money. Appreciate it.
I don't hate that actually. Not that I would do it, but I don't hate it.
I'm clicking through. I haven't found any Gronk teams.
Le'Veon Bell is 14%. Guys, don't play Le'Veon Bell, please. Please don't.
I keep ending up with him on draft.
Don't. Oh, on draft. Why?
Just because I'm getting him in the 2nd and 3rd round.
You couldn't just take David Johnson in the 2nd or the 3rd round?
No, he's actually been getting taken earlier and earlier now. I've yet to find a Gronk team, by the way.
That's so weird. Maybe was he just ridiculously overpriced on Aces?
I don't know. I just found an Eric Ebron team.
By the way, Gillisley was 38% on.
All right, so he must just be all at the bottom. Gronk's 24% owned.
Gillisley 38%. Wow,
Gillisley's 47% on Fantasy Aces.
Oh man, I really handled that script wrong. If he's gonna be that popular. That was a complete waste of money.
Yeah, but him and Mike Davis were both 3K on Aces, and if you have a 3K player on Aces, you can load up.
Yeah, but he wasn't 3K here. He was. I guess he was on. I guess he's. What is he on DraftKings? 3K. I don't know what Gillisley is on DraftKings. To be honest, shows you how little I've clicked his name.
3K. I put him. Yeah, he's 3K.
Yeah, so I guess he's gonna be super popular on sites where he's 3K. On FanDuel, he'll be less popular. I guess you're right.
We had a question on Twitter after we got done with the pod that we can address real quick if you want to. It was about Kyle Rudolph. People were saying, actually, two people tweet me about this, and they said that Philly hasn't played a good tight end yet this year, and their stats are skewed because of that. But my issue with the Philly tight end defense is they've been really good against tight ends for 2 years now.
Yeah, but their personnel has changed. Wait a minute.
They played Detroit.
Right?
They played Detroit, but Ebron, I think, was out in that game.
He was out.
They played Pittsburgh, Chicago, Cleveland, and Washington.
That's not exactly anything to write home about. I'm not in love with. Well, actually, let me just say this: like, I would rather play Doyle. Assuming if Doyle is going to be at like 20% and under, that's where I want to be. I think I'll be really happy taking a stand in that situation. But if I'm not, like, tight end is so ugly. It's like Reed's questionable, Graham questionable. Like, I don't want to play Bennett. I don't want to play Gronk. I hate Kelsey. Walker's fine. And then it's just like, who the hell else is left? It's like Cameron Brate, Doyle. It's like Cameron Brate, Doyle, and Delaney are like the only three tight ends I want to play. And then I guess a little Julius Thomas, but he has no ceiling. I don't know. It's a mess. Tight end's a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have a little bit of Rudolph at 3,500, though. Just targets have been too consistent on a week where tight end is just that bad.
Oh, man. And it does nothing now, but I upped my Odell exposure. I didn't even realize he was going to see Troy Hill. Troy Hill, worst rated corner in NFL this year so far. Like, it doesn't matter.
You also might have to kick extra points if Josh Brown can't get into the country. I'm sorry, not Josh Brown. I mean, Robbie Gould.
Oh, Josh Brown. Come on, man. Like, I'm not going to steal a segment from ESPN. Come on, man. Like, it's just dumb.
All right, let's end the show before we get fired.
All right, yeah, let's end the show before we get fired. Any final NBA or NFL thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I don't have any.
Oh,
good luck, everybody.
Oh, before we get fired, hold on. Did Terrell Pryor practice today? God, he didn't practice again. That's a guy that I really want to play this week.
Ricardo Lewis, if he sits.
You think so? Is Lewis, do you think? I think, yeah.
9 targets last week. His targets have he was inactive the first 2 weeks. Then he's got 4, 5, 5, and 9.
Okay, I can see that for sure.
If you're looking for maybe a 3K receiver to swap in there for Ty Montgomery, if you're trying to use some of your Thursday lineups over onto Sunday.
All right, well, good luck in your NFL contest. Good luck in your NASCAR contest this weekend because NASCAR still matters to some people. We'll see you guys on Monday.
This weekend.